I said I would work on the inventory in this video, but I've kind of decided against that right now. I think that brings me very close to working on the outside game. Maybe that's something I should work on as I'm developing the sort of game controller side of things rather than battle controller, and then maybe come back to the battle controller stuff and add in using items in battle. So what I thought up was element damages, element damage and element resistances. So fire can deal fire damage specifically, and then you can have elemental resistances on equipment. So that'd be kind of a cool way to bring together what we've been building, and yeah, just combine some different elements of the game into something else. So there probably needs to be some kind of list of elements. An enum probably sorts all of that out very easily. So let's say we start with element. We'll make it an enum. Now, I like starting enums with none, just so there's some sort of fallback, or just maybe even use that like a null, because I don't think enums can be null. So you can have some kind of nothing, and then I don't know. What I've seen in RPGs is something like physical, but then you know what? I quite like the D&D style where it just has bludgeoning, um, piercing, and slashing. This covers, I think, pretty much all weapons. And then you can have your usual elements, fire, earth, is that a thing? Wind, water, and then maybe dark and holy, or dark and light, something like that. So yeah, I'm not actually building the game right now, so well, I'm not designing the game, so these are absolute plenty to be working with. Really, you probably only need like slashing and fire just to test it all out. So we have elements. So you could add this to stats, and that would be one way of very easily manipulating it. But then you would have to type out sort of bludgeoning resistance, piercing resistance, and then that doesn't make this really useful at all. There's no point of having an enum then if you're just hard coding everything out. So I think I'll have it separate. Um, Maybe it can be its own like resistances component. Put on entities, and I'm thinking we can have different resistances for objects like doors. Maybe you'll have some kind of door that is um, strong against slashing, weak against bludgeoning and piercing or something. So let's just add resistances. So this will be the sort of container for all the different resistances, whether you can absorb, whether you Nullify. So I imagine for events we're going to want some kind of link to the unit this belongs to. So we'll do what we've been doing in previous ones. Parent unit equals return get component unit. And note I have done get component and not get component in child because I don't think we want to be attaching anything to this, so we may as well attach it directly onto the parent. So there's a property. Now here will be some variables. I'm thinking maybe a dictionary, and that will be element and then some kind of integer. And this can be percentage resistance. Maybe a private dictionary of element and bool that just says null resistance or nullify element, something like that. So in the percentage resistance, we're going to add if we equip an item that gives us 10%. What's this freaking out over? If we equip an item that gives us 10% fire resistance, then we will check if fire already exists in here. If it doesn't, we'll set it to 0, and then we will add on the 10%. But yeah, if it already exists, we'll just add on 10% to this. You know what? Maybe this is a bad way of doing it. We should probably copy the same style we've done for the features, where if you want to get a resistance, you just collate it. You collect them all. So this is not a thing. Let's get rid of that. Instead, we will have a has this. I'm thinking. Let's gather the resistances first. Get resistance. Be element element, and it's going to return the percentage resistance. So get percentage resistance. Let's return 0 for now. But this will have some kind of event here. Let's plot this out. Static on get percentage resistance. There'll be some kind of public static event handler. That's why it was freaking out. On get nullification. So when we do some sort of damage check, we probably first check if there's a nullification. Then we check if there's some kind of absorb. That might be handled in percent though. If it's what would it be? Let's draw this out from my brain. If you have 10, that means reduce damage by 10%. 100 means take no damage. So what would absorb be? Maybe it does need to be its own thing, like nullification. I'm just not thinking about that properly. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. Public int, public bool, get absorb resistance for element, and then get null resistance yeah, I guess the same for on get absorb. And then public class on get resistance. Let's do on get event args so we can keep this the same for each of these. Or just use the common one for all of them. So there's going to be a unit that this belongs to, or that we're checking. Um, on get value, and then there's going to be public class on get bool event args. Because I guess they are slightly different. Unit, public bool value, public bool int value. No, this is wrong. This is wrong. It's modifier. It's modifier. So we're bringing back a list. Did I call it stat modifier? Let's see. I call it stat modifiers here. I wonder if I can backdate this. Well, that's definitely not the correct term for it. I wonder if I can go through this and change the code so it's just a modifier, and this could be add stat modifier and add percentage stat modifier just the same way. Because this has nothing in it, so it doesn't need to be stat modifier specifically. Okay, so let's change that. We will just rename stat modifier to modifier. And I think that's still the same. Maybe it doesn't need to be even stat. It could just be add value modifier. I wonder if that's the way that it's done in Liquid Fire and I just forgot. Well, yeah, this seems better to do add value modifier. And add percentage modifier. Wait, this is just a value as well, you silly bugger. but it's being used differently. So maybe that's the purpose. We'll keep that as add percentage modifier. So we know that it's doing something different. This isn't just the same number we want. This is to be percentage. Maybe bool modifier just to trigger it on. I don't know if this is a good way of doing this, but I will try it this way. So bool modifier. Just value, and then so I wonder if I will ever use a false one here, or if it's always going to be trying to set something to true. And we'll leave it open just in case, but I don't think I don't know why you would be setting something to false. So yeah, resistances, a list of modifiers is what we want. Modifier list. And this is same here, public list of modifier. So this is on get value, on get bool, on get. But really, now that I've changed it again, this is exactly the same. So let's just return to what it was. A lot of flip-flop in here, just as I map it out in my head on how it's going to work. This, and then we need to build the event args on the outside. Args equals new. Args.unit equals parent unit. Args.modifier list equals new list, so we can add to it. Pass in the args, and then on the other side, we, I guess, tally it up. And args modifier list dot count total plus equals args dot modifier list I dot value. The value to, I need to come up with a better way of handling this. If I'm just going to run through the same code that that I do elsewhere, I can't remember where that was. In stats, this nonsense here, there should be something else maybe in the utility script that just calculates this for us. We will pass in a list of modifiers and it will give us the value. Although value and percentage is different. Maybe I do it in a more wasteful way. Pass in arguments and then pass in a type, and then we only do something or only return the value if it's the type we're looking for. Let's just make that, because I feel like it will save having to repeat bad code. So here's a utility script that I use for just random pieces of code. It's going to be an int return filter modifiers. And we're going to pass in a type, modifier type, and a list of modifiers. Never that type. A list of modifiers. Okay, so for each item in the modifier list, modifier list got get type is equal to modifier type, then we will add it to the total. Still, you know what? Maybe that modify isn't such a bad thing after all. So here's a modifier that does not have a value, an integer value. It just has this. Part of me is saying this is going to be terrible, but if I start just adding different types here, so instead of putting the type there, we say we are only interested in as add value modifier. So we say we're only interested in add value in this function, and then we create another function for checking the boolean or getting the percentage value. So maybe my design choice of wanting to add together the multipliers, what was I saying? Yeah, maybe if I undo the thought of if I have three pieces of equipment with plus 10% HP, then I just want that to add them together and say 30% and add that on to the value. I don't want that to say multiply by, well, add the 10%, then add 10% on top of that, then add the 10% on top of that. If I did away with that sort of thinking, then I could just revert back to having a sort order on the modifiers and just having this modify the value that you pump into it, and we'll just run through all of them after sorting. It would be easier, but it's kind of a shame to lose that idea of just adding the multipliers together first. Hmm. Decisions, decisions. Right, let's just have a think about these modifiers and see if there's a better way to be doing this. So the problem is this is a mess. For every type of modifier, it would need to be added here. Well, I guess we're only adding the ones that are relevant. And in some cases that probably will be all of them, but in some cases it won't. And again, what's the point of having these different modifiers if it's not really going to do anything? It just holds a value. Like nothing of value comes of having a different one for this and a different one for the percentage. If I could just hard code that somewhere. Oh, maybe I do have a modify in the modifier, but it isn't modifying the value we're trying to get to at the end of the calculation. It's just adding to something that's passed in. So how would that look? How would that look? Maybe there would be some kind of modifier object that holds the ultimate value of this, the ultimate value of this, and then that gets passed in, and each one modifies the specific part that it should. So undo this for now. Change this folder name. Um, Modifier result. And then in here, I guess I'm going to be hard coding the different modifiers. Or not, or not. Public dictionary. We're going to slap a type in there, or a string. We'll do a string. And then yeah, then some kind of value. Is it a way of just having sort of an unknown value? Well, let's check grok and see. Oh, generics, of course. So be a generic. But then generic would be of some kind of type, no? In Unity C Sharp, a list of unknown types. So the list itself, wait, no, that's not what I'm looking for either. It's not a list where the value is an unknown type. Explicitly defined to compile, okay. use object. All objects. Okay, okay. Interesting. Right, so object result dictionary, and we'll just make that initialized. So if I have this now, let's see stats. Where did you go? Yeah. If this was all commented out, we would probably create the modifier result equals something, and then we pass that through a modifier will have, and it's gone. And they're all gone because I changed the folder name. Public modifier public void modify, but it takes in a modifier result. So now we go through them one by one. Add value modifier. Add the abstract class. Now let's see, how do we modify this in here? Modify result. Let's just have a really clean way of adding. Add result. We will have an object sender, maybe not the correct terminology. Modifier, and an object which is value of some kind. And then if result dictionary to string. So if it doesn't contain the key, we will add the key. Modifier dot get type to string will equal 0, and then outside of that we will simply do that again to string plus equals value. So this breaks because value, I'm guessing. Yeah, it's an object. Okay, so this is maybe not going to work then. Maybe I have different types of modify here. but then also have a Boolean version as well. Um, but I guess Boolean doesn't really make sense because if we change the value, then nothing should unchange the value. Am I just going around this in a horrible, horrible way that doesn't need to be done? Uh, Modify result. Let's see. Um, yeah, I think it's probably just a better way to just gather them all, sort them, then modify them. Okay, let's just do that then. Yeah, okay. I like that idea. If we make a value modifier, so we know to only grab the value modifiers when we're working with stats. And we're gonna just slap the sort order back on. Okay, yeah, I would have liked to have the tallied up percentages, and I probably still can, but doing it separately. But this is fine. Um, so this isn't really part of that. And that would be to do with values, so it'd be in here somewhere. We still want the base to be getting something, sort order. So we pass that in there. And then abstract this. So add value will be a value modifier. Add a sort order and then do the base. And then we will modify, which just returns that plus that. I actually think I remember that you'd pass in. There was something to do with the value delta. I'm sure I'll need to read up some more and remember that part. So where are we? Where are we? We're changing a lot again. Oh, so this will be abstract 2. And what's broken? Give me it. So build modifier. And sort order. So maybe I can just grab bool modifier when I'm trying to run the nullification and things. Return initial value plus initial value divided by 100f. Mathf floor to int multiplied by percentage. Right, where were we? Right, so we need to pass in some kind of sort order. I'm going to put in 1 because we want that to happen pretty soon. I don't think that should have finished so quickly. So add value. Okay, we're modifying. Let's go to stats. So here we don't do this anymore. We don't really care what the type of modifier is. We are just going to args.stat modifier list I.modify. Okay. Get should be a list of value modifiers. There's modify, pass in the result, but we also make the result equal to whatever this modified number is. And then we return the result. So it's much cleaner. I'm just missing out on adding the percentages together, which I suppose isn't really a big deal. And also this, whenever we're modifying this, I need to make sure we're actually grabbing value modifiers and not just modifiers. So where would that be? Blind? Is blind not doing it? Let's have a look at blind. Oh, and the equipment features. Yeah, oh yeah, features. Okay, just we're not grabbing anything, we're just applying. So in the equip item, yeah, we just grab the feature itself and then apply it. So we're not actually dumping everything in. Okay, that's fine. Let's give it a test and see. I'm not really sure what could be broken or what could be really getting tested here. I just want to make sure things still work. Make them blind. Okay. Fire. Nice. Heal yourself. Fine. Poison people. Okay. Heal people. Lovely. So back to what the video was originally about. Let's check this bool modifier and see if we can actually use it. So much crap's open now. Close. Alright, resistances. So I don't think we want to be worrying too much. Okay, let's just run it. See what happens. Get percentage resistances. The total will equal args.modifier list, but this is going to be value because it's purposely a value we're looking for here. plus or minus works. Value modifier. So we grab each of the modifiers and then modify that. And this is just going to be full of add value, I believe. I don't see why we would ever do actual add percentages for this, because that's like saying um, add a percentage of the percentage resistance you have. So yeah, total equals that, and then we return the total, and that should be what the resistance is. Mm. Yeah, let's just run these as well. So on get event args equals new, args.unit equals that, args.modifier list equals. Suddenly it's the wrong thing again, so we're going for another one. On get value, on get bool. Maybe we'll just grab bool modifiers for these are binary choices really. Should they nullify it or not, or should they absorb it or not? So get bool on get value. Down here we'll just make it the bool one. Bar on get bool equals new list, and then we'll run on get absorb invoke. So we don't need to create a value now. We'll just loop through all of the responses. If args.modifierList.value equals true, we will return true. So if any of these are marked as true, return true, and if you find nothing to return true with, return false. It does not get absorbed. And this is going to be exactly the same for nullify. But on get nullify. Right, so how would this be used now? Where did the HP thing go? Here it is. Or maybe not HP. HP doesn't care about any of that sort of stuff. HP just cares about the numbers. So it would be in the action, I suppose. Deal damage action. So we have a damage value, but we don't have a damage type at the moment. So here to do, we're scoring one off here. So I guess we'll need to actually pass in damage type from the ability. So in the effect, damage effect, we have a potency, but we will also have a serialize field, private, element, element. You know, this will probably need to be its own component as well. So let's go So let's add a folder for damage element. I don't know, damage element. I don't want to make it exclusive to damage. I already have element, so I can't just call it element. Okay, we'll call it damage element for now, and if I ever have a reason to change that, then I'll do so. So like a lot of the other components we've been adding, we will start with an abstract class that doesn't really do much itself. Element. Maybe something like that. Public abstract element, get element. The reason I would do it this way is because you may want something that has a set element, and you may want something that says grab the element from the weapon we're using for physical melee attacks. So we build on top with set damage element, because that's all we have at the moment. We're just going to manually choose what element this is. And it's going to inherit from damage element. Implement abstract class, and then here we'll simply have a serialized field of element, element, and we will return element. So damage effect should have a damage element, which is going to be accessed just like the potency, damage element, get return, get component, damage element. And then we'll just have to pass it through with this deal damage action. Just like that. Maybe dot element is fine. You know, it kind of feels wrong just leaving it empty like that, just with elements. So get element we'll have to do. Get element. And in here we will just have to tack on at the end for now until probably later there will be some changes where there's some kind of damage damage container that holds the value, the element, and hit chance maybe if the thing crit, all that sort of data. On damage. This dot element equals element. So here we were executing the damage. We don't just immediately reduce the damage. Check for I guess good effects should come before bad effects. So absorb. No. Nullification would come first because that's deciding if it does any damage or not. Then would be absorb because you haven't nullified it, so it's doing the damage, but you absorb the damage. And then finally, check for resistances, sort of percentage changes. So it's target dot resistance. Have I not added that yet? Nope. Public resistances, get return, get component resistances. Okay, so target dot resistances dot get nullify resistance for the element, which is just element. And this is a bool. If should nullify, we'll add some code here, and then ultimately yield break. Would say user, oh, it's the target nullified person's damage. And we'll also put in the element, I guess. So if it's fire, it'll say Lorik nullified Amy's fire damage. And then here you could pop in, add in an event for a nullify pop-up. And then we break because it doesn't do anything else. And then similarly, check for absorb, bool should absorb equals target dot resistances dot get absorb for the element. If should absorb, then we are increasing, and we wouldn't say on damage, it would be on heal for some reason. Maybe on damage is bad and it should be on HP changed or something. Is that for pop-ups? Okay, yeah, it's pop-up damage. I guess this will have heal and damage, and this will have heal and damage, which makes me think these are in the wrong place. Maybe that's why we would pass something into the HP even though it doesn't care. We would say on changed, and then yeah, at the moment this triggers on changed, and then the pop-up can grab that, and based on if it's going up or down, that's what generates the heal or the damage pop-up. That way we are missing out on the element and I guess the user, but I don't think that matters. So yeah, maybe just leave a quick note. Pop-up controller, catch the HP on changed event and use the delta to determine. Okay. Alright, but anyway, back to deal damage. If should absorb, we want to do increase. Leave some kind of message. Target absorbed. Um, so we'll leave. So it'll be like Lorik absorbed Amy's 20 fire damage. Check for resistances. This will be a bit more calculations since we're altering the damage value. So yeah, let's grab the int. Resistance equals the target dot resistances dot get percentage resistance for this element. I guess this is the rest of the calculation, because if resistance is 0, it's just going to end up being nothing anyway. Yeah, so what are we trying to do here? Damage value equals, let's try and work out the damage to resist is equal to, what would this be? Damage value divided by 100F multiplied by resistance, and then we just wrap it up. Math f dot floor to int. I always like rounding down if it's values. You always want the full number, and a point something is just a part of a number, so I round down. So if this was 100 and then resistance was 10, then the damage to resist would be 100 divided by 100, which is 1, multiplied by 10, which is 10. Damage value equals damage value minus damage to resist. Seems like decent enough logic there. And we decrease the value. Maybe say target resisted, damage to resist, and then element. So I would say Lorik resisted 10 fire damage. And then we do some kind of on damage thing. I don't think we need the damage element there unless we purposely want to show off some kind of value, some kind of icon to show fire damage, or a color for the color of the damage number or something. So Again, that's a lot of code to not really test anything in the middle. Nothing has an element on it yet, so I should be adding that. Should maybe default to none if it finds nothing. But maybe it's fine just having it crash if that sounds terrible. It's maybe fine having it crash as a warning to me that, by the way, you haven't done this, you haven't added this to the status effect or the damage or whatever it is, the weapon. But yeah, I guess in the code you would probably want to have checks instead of just using something that could be nothing. Maybe this is virtual and it just returns. No, it doesn't make sense. If it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. Where is it? Damage effect. Yeah, in here you would probably want to check if damage element exists before grabbing an element from it, because that can easily return null and then that would break the game. If you just leave a little note log error, I might miss it. So I like it when it crashes in this early stage, and then I can go over adding in more checks and things. So let's see, equipment, weapons. Let's add a damage element to this. You know what? This is probably the wrong way of doing it. I would probably just set something on the weapon that says element, because this isn't really using it. This just sets it. What uses it would be an ability like this, which has a set damage element of fire. Let's see what happens. Nothing actually changes the resistance yet. I'll need to add some features for that. Use fire and let's see what happens. Okay. Object. Get damage element. Oh, I added it to the wrong place. Ability fire. Doesn't need it there, it needs it on the damage effect. That makes more sense. And let's see, boom, another error. So perform an action, dealing some sort of damage, and then target resistances. So I'm guessing the resistances thing isn't on the unit yet. So let's check prefabs, unit. There we go. Resistances. Go again. Fire. Boom. So I managed to damage him. It said it resisted no fire damage, which is exactly what we expect. There's no nullification, there's no absorb, there is no calculation to be done. So let's get to a feature. I'll just duplicate this and then alter it. Nullify element feature. All we need is an element because we'll just be telling it to flick it on, turn it on. We're not interested in stats.get, we're interested in resistances.onGetNullify. And we will remember to unsubscribe on remove. So similar checks here, similar checks. We'll just paste it in and then work on it. If the parent unit, so if the units don't match, return early. E dot sort of element. Okay, so we do actually need the element we're interested in here. Otherwise, we don't know what to check for or what to block. Public element. Okay, and we need to pass that in as an argument. args.element equals element. Surprised I didn't catch that at the time. That seems like quite a glaring problem. Okay, so we're passing through the element now. So we can check if e.element does not equal to the element we're interested in, return early again, and then it will be a bool modifier equals new bool modifier sort order 1 again, because it doesn't really matter. A bool will just return a bool no matter what order it's in. I actually forgot to order the stats before we use the shit. So let's see, args dot stat modifier list equals args dot sort order by, maybe that's what we're looking for. Modifier m dot sort order. Where's modifier? It's private, so there's no way of getting it. Okay. So we order by sort order and then put it to a list again. So we just organize them in sort order, so that should give us what we want. The value add will be at the start, the percentage multiply will be at the end. Did I even add the percentage multiply? I'm a bit all over the place. I need to wrap this up and get back to where I was. Modifiers, where are they? Oh, I've not actually done anything that uses it yet. Okay. Okay, let's get back to it. So bool modifier is fine. And then e dot modifier list dot add bool modifier. Just like that. So now anything that has this attached to it and sets an element, they should be able to nullify that type of damage. And then we make sure to unsubscribe. Okay. I've got a feeling the absorb will be pretty similar to this. Armor, chainmail, nullify element feature, or nullify fire. So if he uses fire on other people, full damage. It didn't do damage to him. Loric, Nullify, Loric's fire damage. So it looks like that part of it's working. We'll get rid of that again. Modifiers. Nope, features. Duplicate that. Absorb element feature. So exactly the same setup, but it's on get absorb. On get absorb. On get absorb. And we remove on get absorb. Right, just a quick read check to make sure it's actually right. On get absorb, get absorb, get absorb. Check the element, check the parent. Add a bool modifier. And unsubscribe to get absorb. Okay, let's try this one out. Okay, and thankfully he starts with less HP, so you should see him actually getting healed. So here we go. Try and cast fire on other people. Let's see. Pete took 5 damage, and he took 5 damage. Let's try and damage himself, and it went up by 5 because he absorbed it. Loric absorbed Loric's 5 fire damage. Wonderful. So again, pop-ups, but that'll be fixed. I've got a note of it. And then there is the resistance feature, something like that. And that's probably a bad one to latch onto. Nullify element can go away. Add stat feature. Resistance, add resistance feature. So it's going to be element, and we will have a value this time. Let's see, resistances dot on get percentage resistance, and we will unsubscribe to that. We'll just copy this over for now. If the element is not equal to the element we're interested in, return early. Add value modifier. Add value modifier equals add value modifier. This is fine. This is fine. Modifier list, add value modifier. So if I always do 5 fire damage, I will make a add resistance feature, say 40%. So that should be 2 damage is resisted and 3 damage goes through. So let's see if it works as intended or if something needs tweaked. So he's got 20 damage here. So it did 3 damage and 2 was resisted. So it sounds and it looks like it works just how I want it to. Now there could be an issue with multiple elements, so I will avoid that at all costs in my game. If you have a fire weapon and you use it, it will deal fire damage, not fire and slashing. If you have a fire weapon and you cast a spell to do ice damage with your weapon, it's just going to do ice damage because of the spell. It's not going to do ice and fire. I think that's probably for the best. So what did we do in this video? We added a resistance component on the unit. It handles nullification, absorbs damage resistance in percentages. And you know what? Just another quick test. Let's go armor, chainmail, and let's say this is minus 40. Maybe we do an extra 40% damage. So I think that would be 7. Let's see. There we go. There we go. It works. Resisted -2 because he's now got a weakness to it rather than a resistance. So that's how you add weaknesses as well. Lovely. So yeah, maybe that opens the door to creating enemies that come with pre-built features. So a dragon that breathes fire maybe has a plus 40 to fire, but a minus 40 for water or something, so they take more damage. Who knows? It's an open door right now, but that's another feature in the bag. So I'll see you in the next video when, yeah, I really don't know. I don't know. I've not made up my mind yet. So see you then.